Let's go to 4A now. We're talking 4A sectional 19. East Noble 7-2 at Plymouth, who's 5-5, and then on the bottom half you've got Northridge against Northwood. Northwood coming in 10-0, one of the top teams in the state. You figure they move on to the championship, but East Noble Plymouth is an interesting game to me because Plymouth beat an Angola team 26-23 last week. It was close, but they go on the road and pick up a victory. Now they're back at home hosting East Noble, and we know what East Noble can do offensively. How do you see this one playing out as the Knights take on the Rockies?
Tricky matchup for East Noble, I think, because they may be thinking ahead to that Northwood game, undefeated team, and playing them for the sectional championship. But Plymouth has that pedigree of a good program, knows how to win football games. It's going to be hosting that game on Friday night. And I think East Noble, I think they come ready to play. You just kind of worry if they're a little flat on Friday, maybe looking ahead a week. Plymouth is fully capable of knocking them off, and I think it's going to be a closer game than a lot of people anticipate.
Yeah, I don't know if Plymouth has the horses to hang with what they have in terms of East Noble's passing game, but really there haven't been that many games where you've seen East Noble have to run the ball. I mean,
right.
McCormick can run the ball. They have guys that can run the ball, but there's not been a lot of games where they've been forced. The pass has been taken away, and they've had to run. I don't know that Plymouth's the team to do that, but maybe Northwood is, and that might be a good warm-up this week to get ready and prepare yourself for a team that might be able to do that against you.
You know, it's a good point because a lot of teams we talk about, particularly in the ACAC and NECC, is they can run the football a lot. What happens when they can't run and they have to pass it? East Noble may be the opposite. They really thrive on the vertical passing game, McCormick getting out in the pocket, getting it to Dylan Hunley, guys in space. What happens, and we saw it in the New Haven game, when they can't pass the football and they need to move the ball on the ground? Can they do it? They couldn't do it against New Haven. They need to probably be able to do it against Northwood next week to have a shot at a sectional championship. They may need it on Friday. I think Plymouth is a very solid team, a good tune-up for what they're going to see next Friday.
I think so as well. Hey, 4A sectional 20, really interesting here. Mississinawa 10-0. At Bishop Dwenger. That's a Friday night game, 7 o'clock kick, going to be played at Bishop Darcy Stadium. And New Haven on the bottom half against Southside, who
upstart Archers, baby.
You know, congratulations, Roosevelt Northfleet. I don't think a lot of people saw them beating Leo, maybe being competitive, but gosh, the way that they beat them was impressive. I was out there with Jack Weicker on Friday night, and it wasn't even close. 33-9 maybe doesn't do it justice.
Definitely. I think we saw that score early on, and you said you were out there, so you saw it. But me, being down in Marion, I saw that score. I was like, okay, you know, Leo just slow start. Southside gets a couple bounces. They get ahead. But no, they just kept piling it on, like you said, and tremendous job by Coach Northfleet and the Archers. And Dennis Johnson just does not get the credit that he deserves just because Southside has not had the success that a lot of other programs have had the last couple years. But one of the more outstanding individual players in the area, does a lot of things with his arm, does a lot of things with his legs, and just a tremendous player at quarterback for Southside.
I was thinking this. I don't know, outside of maybe Mac Hippenhammer, I don't know that there's been a more impressive receiver this year in the SAC than Therese Bobo. I mean, when the guy is on the field, he's tall, he's athletic, he's making plays. He's throwing a 29-yard touchdown at the end of the second quarter. I mean, this guy, we don't get a chance to talk about Southside that much because they haven't played in that many huge games that we've previewed. But man, heck of an athlete.
And plus, you like saying Therese Bobo.
I do like saying Therese Bobo. He had a great catch for a touchdown against Dwenger earlier in the season.
Yeah, he's one of the more versatile players in the area. He can do some return game stuff too as well. Like you mentioned, he can throw, he can run, he can catch. And a lot of people know he's getting the ball. He's one of the few weapons that South has, and still they can't stop him. So between Dennis Johnson and Therese Bobo, two of the better players in the area individually that we don't talk about a lot, but unfortunately, they're going to have to stop a New Haven offense that has plenty of players themselves. I think South is able to score a couple touchdowns, but that New Haven defense, that New Haven offense, I think is just going to score way too much.
Yeah, and on the top half, Mississinawa versus Bishop Dwenger. Dwenger, as you know, had trouble with Marion. I mean, they were losing in the third quarter when it was 14-13. What did they do? Obviously, you like to see them gut it out and win a close game, so that's a positive going forward. But what concerns you now that you're facing a Mississinawa team that is, hands down better than the Marion team that they faced on Friday night?
Yeah, no doubt. You get an undefeated Ole Miss team coming in. They got a running back named Heisman, has over 35 touchdowns. So that kind of tells you, I mean, that kid's born to play football, right? If his name's Heisman. I don't know much about Mississinawa, admittedly, but they beat Eastbrook earlier in the year, and they handled Eastbrook, one of the better programs in Central Indiana, regardless of class. So how do they come in? Are they ready to play, or are they going to come in wide-eyed against Bishop Dwenger? 100 players warming up. You're playing on turf now at Bishop Darcy Stadium. Does the atmosphere intimidate Ole Miss before the game even starts? One thing that Marion didn't do was buy into the Dwenger hype on Friday. They came in ready to play, nothing to lose, we're loose, whatever, we're playing defending state champions, and they had them on the ropes into the fourth quarter. Can Ole Miss, a better team than Marion, do that as well? Because Bishop Dwenger isn't playing their best football right now, and I think if they're not ready to play, if they don't come out and execute, Ole Miss is going to beat them.
Yeah, what concerns you? Because you look at the 22 points, Marion has athletes, but Bishop Dwenger, I mean, they kind of pulled a rabbit out of a hat in that one.
Yeah.
And you would think, on paper, the reigning 4A state champs, the number of guys they had coming back, the talent they had coming back, that this is a game we knew it was going to be competitive, but that, gosh, Dwenger should have won a little more easily than they did.
Yeah, it was almost a tale of two games, too, because the way Terrell Phelps of Marion was able to run against that against the Bishop Dwenger defense in the middle quarter, second and third quarter, very concerning, because you would expect a Bishop Dwenger defensive front to really dominate a shorthanded, undersized Marion offensive front. But they weren't able to do that. But in the fourth quarter, Bishop Dwenger's defense, led by Frankie Yanko up front, was just awesome. It just destroyed Marion, could not get anything going. So which Bishop Dwenger team do we see on Friday? Because obviously Miss Sinowal is going to want to run the football, establish the run, move the chains with Mr. Heisman, and really control the football. And obviously they missed Peter Winklejohn in the middle of that defense. He was just such a huge part of last year's team, same this year. Tremendous void they have in the middle part of that defense. But I think Bishop Dwenger found something in the fourth quarter last Friday. Last year you saw them get a scare from Leo in sectionals before going to state. I don't know if they can get all the way to state, but I think they got their scare at least in sectional play last week.